Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all my Ice Princess Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for April 2024. This was the deck that was actually used by Alexis Rhodes in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX manga that focuses on being able to place ice counters on many of the different cards that you have in the deck. Also being able to place them on your opponent's cards and then utilize different card effects based on the monsters that have ice counters on them. It's definitely a fun build, but wanted to focus still on the, pure water aspect of the deck, being able to use some other engines with the cards as well. So definitely happy with the updates since the last time I updated this deck, which it's been a couple years since, but still, as I said, made some changes since to better help the consistency of its playstyle. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. One of our main go-to boss monsters is Ice Master. You can special summon this card from your hand by attributing 2 water monsters once per turn. You can target one face-up monster on the field, place the ice counter on that target. And then you contribute this card to destroy all monsters with ice counters. So it's a good way just to clear out your opponent's cards with this card being able to use those ice counters and just being able to summon it with a special summon by just getting 2 water monsters, which one of our engines that we are running in the deck can definitely help with that setup, but definitely have 3 of, because it's one of our more powerful monsters to make use of. Also running 3 copies of Cold Enchanter. You can discard 1 card to target one face-up monster on the field and place an ice counter on that target. This card gains 300 attack for each ice counter on the field, so while more of a powerhouse card for the setup, the being able to use more ice counters, you could then, have more monsters to destroy. With cards like Ice Master, Cold Enchanter can also just help with the initial setup of being able to gain attack for all the different ice counters we have, which some of the other cards, not really with the Ice Princess lineup, but still revolving around the ice counters, can help with that as well. One of those cards being Snow Dragon. When it's destroyed by battle or by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, place 1 ice counter on each face-up monster on the field. So just an additional boost depending on how many monsters are on the field for a destruction card. I was debating between running 3 copies of this card or 3 of the next, but that can be your preference on which one you want to run. So either you have 3 Snow Dragon or 3 of the Snowman Creator, which I have 2 of. When it's summoned, you can create a number of ice counters equal to the number of water monsters you control. Place them face up on monsters your opponent controls. Then if you place 3 or more ice counters, you can destroy 1 card your opponent controls. So sort of like an ice counter setup for, Snowman Creator in a way, having the destruction play, while being able to set up a good number of ice counters for the face-up monsters your opponent controls, just by having more water monsters to make use of for those ice counters. Once again, if you want to run a 3rd copy, you can just drop down 1 copy of Snow Dragon for a 3rd copy of Snowman Creator. I also run 2 copies of Crystal Girl. When this card is normal or special summon, you can activate this effect. During the end phase of this turn, add 1 level 5 or higher water monster from your deck to your hand. If you control a level 5 or higher water monster and this card's in the graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect of Crystal Girl once per turn, so more of a setup to get a special summon of Crystal Girl on the field, and then make use of some of the other cards you may want to summon out to put more ice counters on the field. These special summon of Crystal Girl on the field can also work with another water monster, because then you could have that water monster special summon out your Crystal Girl from the graveyard, and then use the 2 tributes to get out some of your bigger monsters like Ice Master to the field also. And then also 1 copy of Snowdust Dragon. You can special summon this card from your hand by removing 4 ice counters from anywhere on the field. Other monsters with ice counters cannot attack or change their battle position. So more of a lockdown card, but really it doesn't help with the actual setup. It just goes for more of a special summon when you have the ice counters, which all the other cards that we mentioned before have to set up to make use of with this card. And then for more of the generic water engine, 3 copies of Silent Angler. Now, one of the more important extra deck cards for setting up the ice counters is Snowdust Giant, needing 2 level 4 water monsters. So being able to summon out cards like Snow Dragon or even our Cold Enchanter, and then just special summon out Silent Angler from our hand, gives us the overlay power for our, Xyz summons as well. It does lock you out of potentially summoning out cards like Ice Master, but most of the time you want to go for that Xyz play anyway when you have Silent Angler in your hand. And for the other engine I mentioned, just for more water monster presence, I am running the Deep Sea engine, so 3 copies of Deep Sea Diva. When it's normal summon, you can special summon 1 level 3 or lower Sea Serpent monster from your deck. So then the targets you have for the Sea Serpent monsters with Deep Sea Diva include some of the other Deep Sea monsters I run, including Deep Sea Minstrel. You can discard this card of 1 water monster to look at your opponent's hand, banish 1 card from their hand, face up, until the end phase of this card's special summon. You can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, target a level 4 lower water monster from your graveyard except for Deep Sea Minstrel, neutral, and place it on the top or bottom of the deck. So more setup for some of your other cards. Same with Deep Sea Artisan, having more of a special summon play from your graveyard for a level 4 or lower water monster, and Deep Sea Sentry, with this card being able to give more full focus on the setup of a water monster and add it to your hand. So all these cards you can summon off of Deep Sea Diva, also just giving you the 2 water monsters on the field to then potentially tribute for Ice Master also. And then I also run 3 copies of Magician's Soul. This could be another hand trap spot if you don't have the Magician's Souls. I really do like this card in the deck, though, because with this card, you get another extra resource on the field, sending up to 2 spell traps from your hand or field to the graveyard to draw that many cards. If it's in your hand, you can send a level 6 or higher spellcaster monster from your deck to the graveyard to activate one of these effects. So you can get the special summon of Magician's Souls on the field, in turn sending one of your spellcasters, in this case it would be Ice Master, to the graveyard to then get this resource on the field, and then have another way to special summon your Ice Master from the graveyard back onto the field. And then also the 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, just running a small hand trap lineup along with the Ash Blossom and the Infinite Impermanence in the deck to work better against your opponent if you end up going second against them. For these spells, along with the Deep Sea cards, 3 copies of Deep Sea Araya. You banish 1 water monster from your graveyard to add 1 level 4 lower sea server monster from your deck to your hand. You can activate 1 Deep Sea Araya per turn, but this is just search power, being able to have those water monsters, including cards like our go-to Cold Enchanter, just being able to discard this card, target a monster to put an ice counter, and then you have your banish cost for Deep Sea Araya to then be able to search out your Deep Sea Diva to start off more of your initial play. I also run the 1 copy of Moray Greed, because we do run a good number of water monsters in the deck, so that shuffle back power can help just to draw into some more useful cards. Also the 2 copies of Surface for being able to summon back our Sea Serpent monsters back onto the field to reuse as well. And also the 1 copy of 1 for 1. Now most of the time with this card, with all the monsters we're running, I still go for the summon of Crystal Girl off of this, so I can have the search for the level 5 or higher water monster from my deck to my hand, being able to grab some of the 1-ofs that I mentioned before as well, like our Snowdust Dragon. And then also the last card being Call by the Grave, just for stopping any of our opponent's hand traps that they may try to use against us, with the only other trap that I run in the deck being the 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence to go along with our Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring lineup. And that is it for the main deck. When I move on to the extra deck, I run 2 copies of Snowdust Giant, needing 2 level 4 water monsters. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, reveal any number of water monsters from your hand, and place that many ice counters on face-up monsters on the field. Non-water monsters on the field lose 200 attack for each ice counter on it. So it's just more setup, and we run a good majority of water monsters in the deck to be able to reveal off of this card, depending on how many you have in your hand, and you just be able to go for the level 4 play, as I mentioned, with a level 4, and an easy special summon like Silent Angler on the field to be able to overlay into this rank 4 Xyz monster. For the other ones, I also run 1 copy of Baguska for more of the stall tactic, 1 Abyss Dweller for the added water bonus with this card, and then the 1 Zeus and the 1 Typhoon for being able to overlay over our other special summon monsters or just our Xyz monsters, with our Link monsters being the 1 Linkaribo for the Crystal Girl target, the 1 Coral Anemone for water monster special summon back to the field, 1 Miss Starboy for the water boost, and the 1 Area for more of the water control for our opponent's cards, with our other Link monsters being 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Unicorn, 1 Zelantis, and the 1 Apollosa for more of a generic lineup to go into also. But as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, what I mentioned before, it all comes down to just the water monster setup that you have going for you in your hand. If you have the Silent Anger and the Snow Dragon, you can normal summon out the Snow Dragon, special summon the Angler, and then from there you have the play to go into your Xyz monster, which then being able to detach 1 off of this card will then give you the counter, depending on how many you have in your hand, to make use of as well. You also have the play, if you go for the Snowman Creator beforehand, as your normal summon to put 1 counter on a card before you go for the Silent Angler summon, then the extra reveal, and then just depending on how many water monsters in your hand, to put more counters on those cards as well. If you start off with more of a setup for your cards, you can also weaken your opponent thanks to the Snowdust Giant play, but the other play comes down to when you summon out cards like your Deep Sea Diva, and then use this card to summon out one more additional monster on the field. That can be the 2 tributes needed right there to summon out your Ice Master to the field as well. And then you can target one face-up monster on the field, place an ice counter on that target, and then you contribute this card to destroy all cards that your opponent have with the ice counters also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, it's just a quick little fun deck looking at one of the overlooked ones from the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX manga. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.